The story of Noah building an ark to save his family and save thousands of animals from a flood which destroys all life on earth is an epic from many people's childhoods. It's a wonderful story found in the Bible, the Quran, and the Torah. But is it in fact real history? Now the technology exists to examine this well-known epic with the eyes of science. We will weigh out the evidence from archaeological finds in Iraq. We will examine the proof that a global flood did cover the whole planet. We'll also create an historically accurate picture of the real Noah, who he was, where he lived, and what he might have looked like. The story of Noah is told in the book of Genesis, in the Bible and the Torah. It's set somewhere in the Middle East about 5,000 years ago.
Hey, stop that.
Noah's family includes his wife, his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their brides. Noah stands out as a good person, the only virtuous man left in a world that had become filled with corruption and violence. He is described as a wine grower, a claim that has an authentic ring to it, as wine was grown in the Middle East as far back as 3000 BC. And this reference also provides a rare insight into Noah's character. After the flood, the Bible says Noah planted the first vineyard. But it also tells us that Noah had a weakness. Having made the first wine, the story goes that Noah drank too much of it. In fact, one night, this holy man collapses naked and drunk.
Hisham! Hisham!
Horrified, his sons Ham and Shem cover their father. In the morning, Noah is embarrassed and perhaps suffering the first ever hangover. He curses the sons who saw him naked. He sounds like a flawed and complex man, but perhaps that is true of all great men. But Noah was probably a very reliable man because God gives him a very big mission. The story goes that God warned Noah in a dream that he was going to punish humanity for its sins with a flood that would cover the whole earth. To save Noah and his family, God told him to build a boat of wood and to line it with pitch inside and out. He also ordered Noah to give the ark 3 decks, a roof, and a door. But the most surprising of God's instructions was the sheer size of the ark. The Bible spells it out in cubits. Traditionally, a cubit was the length of a man's forearm, about 1.5 feet. The Bible says Noah built an ark 300 cubits long and 30 cubits wide by 30 high. That's almost as big as modern supertankers and cruise liners like Titanic. Nearly 450 feet long, it would have been a magnificent sight. Certainly the biggest boat in the ancient world. Quite an achievement for an ordinary man. Now, the Bible assumes it was possible to build this monster vessel out of wood alone. It's a pretty big assumption. The familiar image from the storybooks and cartoons of our childhood is of a huge wooden ark with the animals marching inside 2 by 2. But that is a 19th century image. It is completely at odds with what could have been built in biblical times. According to Tom Vosmer, an expert on ancient boats, not even 19th century engineers could have built a 450-foot ark out of wood alone. They had to use steel frames inside much smaller wooden boats just to keep them afloat.
The problem with a 450-foot boat made of wood is that the wood as a material cannot maintain the shape of the boat. And the boat would start to distort at sea, the seams would open up, and it would sink.
It's a safe bet that the huge ark would spring hundreds of leaks along the length of its huge hull and sink like a stone. That's not to say Noah didn't build an ark. It's just that it would have been much smaller. Then there's another problem. How could he cram 2 of every different kind of animal into the ark? At the latest estimate, there are 30 million species on Earth. Even with a fleet of arks, Noah would have struggled to fit them all in. And how would he have gotten the animals on board? Did he personally go and fetch them, or did they come to him? It is something Noah would have had to consider, especially since he had a pressing deadline. Noah had just 7 days to find all the animals and get them on board. 30 million species in a week. Noah would have needed to load them at the rate of 50 pairs a second. But if one assumes a more realistic loading rate, then it would have taken Noah at least 30 years. It may seem like there's a stark choice. Dismiss the story as myth or appeal to the hand of God. But there may in fact be another explanation. The instruction to load all the animals could have referred only to all the animals in Noah's part of the world. In fact, the book of Genesis specifies which animals Noah was to load. The same book has a second set of instructions, which are much less well known but present an even more realistic scenario. Noah is told to take 7 pairs of clean animals. Clean animals were those considered suitable for ceremonial sacrifices to God. The books of Leviticus and Deuteronomy specify 10 such species, including several types of sheep, antelopes, plus cattle, goats, and deer. 7 pairs of 10 species. That's 140 animals. Then Noah is directed to take a pair of each impure animal and bird. Again, the books of Leviticus and Deuteronomy list 30 or more. They include the pig, the hare, the lizard, the snail, and so on. That's a further 60 animals. Then finally, Noah is told to load 7 pairs of the clean birds, like doves, ducks, and cockerels. Adding all that up, Noah had 260 animals. That's child's play compared to 30 million. Especially if you discount the elephants, kangaroos, and reluctant camels. A smaller ark and fewer animals. Suddenly the Noah story looks more plausible. But the next part of the story may be the most far-fetched of all.